Hi, everyone who has joined. So, Amok, Vishal, Suchitra, and Uchit, and a lot more people. We will be starting soon. Just going to wait a couple of more minutes and give you all the information that you have come here for. Great to have you guys on board. So just to give you a heads up, when we start, if you have any questions, please make sure that you drop all your questions into the chat box. We'll either try to get them answered immediately or towards the end of the session. So thank you guys who've just joined in early and all the people who are joining in. I see Nathaniel. So we're just waiting a couple of more minutes, just making sure that everybody gets on board. So those of you who joined, hang in there. This is going to be a really informative session. Hi, everyone who's joining in. We'll be starting in about a minute or two. Hi, Kiran. Hi, Vinay. So I'm going to go ahead and start right now. Well, so as you can see, it's GRE for non-engineering students. So when we say GRE, the first thing that comes to anyone's mind is STEM, because that has always been primarily the segment of students who have taken the GRE for master's admissions in USA. And when we talk about non-STEM, most people kind of like brush USA off from the list itself because USA needs 16 years of education. And for us, our degree programs are like 15 years of education in total. And I'm here today with our finest experts, Shilpi Talwar and Srinivasan, who are going to talk about the opportunities and future of non-STEM courses, along with whether or not GRE is within your requirements and capabilities. Our first expert, Shilpi Talwar, is a seasoned study abroad admissions expert with over 8 years of experience, who has passionately facilitated the journeys of thousands of students to the universities of their choice. As an advisor who religiously believes in simplifying the process and handholding the students through all the twists and turns of their decision making, she is in fact one of our most coveted experts with a proven track record of sending students to some of the top ranked universities, not just in US, but UK, Canada, and Europe. Possessing unparalleled knowledge and deep insights about universities, their requirements, and processes, Shilpi is known for her ability to accurately assess student profiles, help them with their perfect fits, and make sure they get the offer they want. A big welcome to you, Shilpi.
Thank you so much for so much warm welcome, Seema. Thank you.
Great to have you on board. Our next expert, Srinivasan, he is a Manya senior master trainer and one of the strongest subject matter experts on the team with over 8 years of experience teaching, developing content, and assuring quality. He is one of those rare teachers who believes that all students, irrespective of age, can become powerful mathematical learners. He does not teach students math by just memorizing formulae, but by developing the logical thinking used in the real world. He has transformed the outlook and performance of many students from diverse backgrounds who came in thinking that they just cannot do math. He is loved by his students for making learning fun and respecting each learner's pace. He holds a record for producing the highest number of students with a perfect GRE quant scores. A big welcome to you, Sinu.
Thank you, Seema, and it's my pleasure to be part of this session.
So it's absolutely great having you both on board. Well, my first question goes out to you, Shilpi. When we talk about non-STEM students, we are often looking at students with only 15 years of education that I've just mentioned. And as far as I know, US masters kind of like need 16 years of education, right? So is USA out of the cards for these students?
You have heard a lot of correct and incorrect things in that case, Seema. I'd like
Okay.
to rectify things because there are a lot of rumors which do rounds of the students, whether they can opt for something, whether they can opt for that or not, because a lot of people come with a lot of experience when they say things, but then there is a lot of wrong word of mouth, and we have to take it with a pinch of salt that not everything which goes around is actually the truth. So
Right.
when I get started, let's just say, let's talk about the most and the major important points that why a student should be going to US as a country. Then, as when we say it's an American dream, it's truly that, and it is a really good option to go ahead and take up USA as a destination to study abroad.
Right.
Why every student should be studying abroad? First and foremost, they are going to acquire both professional and life skills, which they are not going to acquire here in India, because when they meet students from different nationalities, they explore different cultures, they learn a lot of things which maybe our culture is not teaching us back here in India. The
Right.
exposure to diverse business cultures. Every country has a different way of dealing in the business environment, in the corporate world. The way the Indian corporate industry works is far different from way an American corporate industry or a British corporate industry works. So diverse business cultures also gives a student or an employee an international edge over that work experience. Greater awareness of the global market. You will definitely have an extensive alumni network. All the students who have graduated from those universities will be in your network and will be able to guide you and mentor you as and when required.
Right.
Getting a holistic overview of the global business world, the deep understanding which a student will get is something which is much more quicker, because when you're studying in a practical environment, things are easy. They are more grasping. You grasp things on much quicker. That is something which we also have understood once since we were young.
Correct.
A quick career advancement, definitely, because if you are adding a layer of quality of education in your profile, definitely you are jumping a career advancement, and you are going to get that salary standards or that position which you want in the corporate world, all of those things which that particular education will get you.
Right.
enhanced earning potential, boosted international job prospects, because when you have an international degree, you are just not very much restricted to that particular destination. You go international, probably you can study in US and get a job in, let's just say, Singapore, or back here in India, or maybe in UK, or probably in Ireland. It could be any of the destinations. So it's so when we say the world is your oyster, you can literally go and see, what you can, what you are capable of, unless until you don't get out of the box you are in. There are higher chances in the students who want to move and study abroad and settle over there. Then they can definitely choose more PR specific countries.
Correct.
Specifically being, there is one thing which the students, what I also feel is, when students also comes to me, what they have, there is one preconceived notion that any student who's going to USA has to be a technical student,
Correct.
has to be an engineer. Else, if you are not a computer science student, you cannot get into a good organization, or you cannot get into a good university, because we have been built on, I would say, the social media or anything. Our environment has affected our thought process to go like that, whether if it's computers, it's USA. But ideally,
Correct.
if you just Google, and just if you will just Google the top business schools in the world, just this random search, I can bet that most of them are in USA, because it is really known for management courses as well. So there are many hidden gems in the country which we are not aware about, which are definitely going to explore today. Which I would say MBA is also one of the choices. And then
Correct.
thing which comes with all of these aspects is a change in a lifestyle and in generations to come, because you are definitely upping your lifestyle. You will be able to have a better quality of life, I would say, when
Yeah.
you move that. So yeah. Another question I think you asked was 16 years of education. So
Yes,
my
the big
answer
question.
would be, yeah. So my answer would be definitely no. The 16 years of education is not mandatory in USA. If you are a student who has done a 3 years of bachelor's in India, if you are a graduate from a NAC-A institution, you are good to go with any of the universities in USA. I'll not say that every university would be open, but then I would say 90% of them would be open for you. If you're talking about
Okay.
really good universities like Yale, Harvard, Cornell, do these universities, do Columbia for that matter, do these universities do take students from 16 years of from 15 years of education background? Definitely they do. I do have my students also who are studying in those universities, who must have graduated by now as well, and have studied in these universities, and they didn't have 4 years of bachelor's, and they were also not STEM students, they were not science students. So yeah, to answer your questions, no, not at all mandatory.
Right. So, you've talked about certain courses, right? And from the time I remember, I've always heard that, I've only heard engineering and medicine. I think that's typical for everybody still, even now. But are the trends still same? Like, do students go only into these programs, or is there a globally a change in the specific preference, both from a career perspective or a future employment perspective, as well as a choice perspective?
Hmm. I will answer that question, Seema. But first, I'll just give you a graph and all the students attending, just an idea of what kind of students commonly opt for courses. As we can see, STEM is the maximum, yes, 34%, followed by maths and computers, which is again 33%. But then we also have to look that business and management degrees are 19% of the courses, and social sciences and all the other fields, which is psychology, chemistry, all of those areas also do fall under this thing. And there are a lot of students who are sometimes from commerce background, but then sometimes some universities do add your non-STEM degrees under their STEM accreditation in that particular university, just because that particular program has enough mathematical components that the university feels that we can add this particular subject under STEM. Just an example, that if you're a student who is a commerce student in India, you will be particularly looked at as a classical non-STEM, non-technical degree, non-engineering
Right.
student. But wherein if you are going to go to USA and if you want to study, let's just say, finance, or if you want to study business analytics in that, for that matter, which is one of the major courses in very much demand right now, or if you want to study economics, these are all the courses which the universities feel will have enough mathematical components, and they do tag them under STEM, wherein back here in our country, they are non-STEM. Even if you are an MSc economics, we don't look at those courses as STEM courses.
Absolutely. That's a very interesting piece of information, actually.
Yeah. So if the university will feel if it has enough STEM components, they will mathematical components, they will add it under STEM. So that would be there. So I would say when we say STEM, math and computer, it could be something in the side of commerce as well.
Okay.
That
Okay.
would also
And I think when we talk about like computers also, we're talking about the degrees, right? Like
yes.
this, okay. Right.
Yeah. So moving on to other few commonly opted courses, as I mentioned, these are the majorly courses which students opt with 15 years of education. One is master's, probably whatever your current field is, a master's in that particular program. Then an MS in finance. Many students go for MIS, which is Management Information Systems, business analytics, operations research, psychology, economics, finance, accounting, business analytics. And then if you want to go purely on the side of MBA, side of management, which is like purely business school in that university, then MBA, MIM, finance. In fact, logistics and supply chain is also,
Right.
under the business school, and it's a program with a lot of demand, I would say, all over the globe. It's
Right.
not just that in that particular country, with a lot of us going with online shopping and everything, the demand which increases of this particular field is super high. Then a technology management program and an operations management. These are just classical examples of few of the programs. The list is endless. So yeah. Now, coming to your question as well, Seema, that where the shift has been, let me be very honest, the shift has been towards non-STEM.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the previous, students and previous history of the students who have gone in the last 2-3 years, post-COVID specifically, the demand has been on more on the creative side of the industry, more on healthcare, more on, public health. All of these are non-STEM courses, and it has been like, I would say, creativity with social media coming into our lives and having so much impact on it. The demand for creative courses is like top 10 in the world.
Oh,
Right. So if we look at, as mentioned here, STEM, definitely it's popular because maximum number of engineers are produced by India. I mean, yeah. So
true.
but then if the demand of that particular courses, if you look at the recent studies and everything, non-STEM courses, healthcare, cyber security, data science, computer science, and all of these courses definitely are there. But then if I look at the World Economic Forum, the creativity, originality, and emotional intelligence were the top 10 demanded skills, which comes back to the students who are probably pursuing some creative program or psychology or anything on that particular non-STEM ground. And these are top 10 demand skills in 2023. So I'd say definitely the shift is slowly and steadily, but it's definitely here to stay. The creative courses are not going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. Now, another stats, I'm just going to throw in a lot of statistics to,
No,
have.
absolutely. This is really interesting.
Yes. So another is the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, which shows that psychology as a profession specifically has grown 8% and it's expected to grow furthermore from 20 to 2030. And the median salary, which is going to be, was 81,000 in 2021. It was, if it were, and let me tell you, this ideally is the salary of a average computer science graduate also.
Wow. Okay.
So if the median pays this much, then I'm say psychologists are also here to stay, and they're going to give good and tough competition to a lot of fields. The job outlook for courses like economics, operation research analysts is 13% and 25% respectively. For medical services and health services, to 32%. Obviously, because of the medical factor and COVID in our lives, the medical field and the career has gone way up, and the demand has also risen. With a median salary of 105 and 630 US dollars, $82 and 101 $340 respectively. This is huge. This is really, really high if I look at it, which means for a economics graduate, the median salary is 105 630 US dollars. This is crazy amount of money people never used to get earlier. So
Correct.
this is what the salaries are, and this is the data which is right now, and we are talking about the future. It's definitely going to increase multiple folds, I believe. Now, among international students, Indian students obviously have a very high interest naturally towards courses like business, data, psychology, economics, finance. These are like super high demand courses, but then at the same time, the shift of, I mean, I have also felt that recently, that a lot of students now are coming to us and want to study something in terms of exercise science, sports. They
Okay.
specifically want to study sports psychology or sports nutrition. These are all different fields which never used to exist. But then,
True. I mean, it's quite surprising.
yeah, so definitely exercise science, sports nutrition, and all of those things, public policy, regulatory affairs. Earlier, regulatory affairs course never used to exist. Any student who had done like a BSc chemistry or an MSc chemistry would have gone for a further master's on chemistry or drug development. But regulatory affairs is another one which has been added and has a really, really high job demand. Urban planning, fashion designing, film, media, performing arts, and many more. But then I'd say this is like a very apt example of what the Indian students go for, and these are really high paying jobs as well over there.
Right.
This this is the basically a statement given by McKinsey Global Institute on how
Mm-hmm.
to look out for job changes and what are the skills which you need to have before 2030, which is in the coming decade.
Right.
It is that emphasize on the demand of person's interpersonal skills such as communication, empathy, and creativity. All three non-STEM courses, all of these are creative these things, and the report also states that the employees core performance areas are changing due to technological breakthroughs in automation and artificial intelligence, which
Correct.
means that AI is going to take over our lives so much that there will be no people in terms of communication, empathy, and creativity, which means the demand for them is definitely going to increase later.
Correct.
So yeah, that shift, if I say, is definitely there, and it's not
I think it's really looking up or kind of different from the
really.
kind of perception that we are pretty much used to, right?
Yes, really. I mean, we really have to, students also have to really start looking out of the box and not be very specific to XYZ 8 1 2 3 courses. We'll have to explore and see what really is the skill you want to acquire, and you will definitely get a job over there, I'd say.
Right. So, we've talked about what are the shifts, the kind of courses, but if these students are actually considering a master's abroad, like where should they really start? Like, what are the things that they have to take into consideration while proceeding with their journey?
Yeah, there is definitely a checklist of documents which the students have to look at, and these requirements needs to be met. Specifically, when we say, so two things are mentioned over here. One is the basic benchmark, and then the another is the good to have. Please do not ignore the good to have. It definitely adds on more to your profile. So let me just go through it. Definitely an academic score of 6 CGPA and above, which means your bachelor's percentage has to be 60% and above. Overall backlogs under 5. When we say under 5, please don't come with a lot of backlogs. Always better to keep it as minimum as it can be to not having a single one, because definitely these affect your score majorly, because we also have to look out for the competition, the number of students who are applying abroad, what kind of profile they are also coming with, and the profile we are applying with. So we have to put our best foot forward. Another
Right.
another very important aspect is the GMAT or the GRE score. I'd say if you are a student who's not very sure and who's not going for an MBA program, I'd say GRE is something you can always look out for, because if the university wants a GMAT, the score is convertible, wherein GMAT is something which is specifically for MBA students. So yeah, I'd say that. Now, what are the courses what are the things which are good to have? Google offers a lot of free courses. There are a lot of free courses on Coursera, LinkedIn, a lot of free certifications. Add them as much as you can in your CV, wherein, because the universities will be able to look that if the student had extra time, he has not wasted that time, but has probably invested it in something. There'll be some knowledge which we are going to keep it to ourselves, and we're going to learn from that.
Right.
If you feel, there are many universities which do offer some paid courses in the university. Let's just say, for example, you want to go to New York University for a Master's of Economics. See if the university is offering any other course, any short duration course, or any certification course offered by the Department of Economics. It is always offered from every university. It's generally a paid program, but when you will apply to the university, you will be able to say that I was so interested in the program that I opted for this program, which is offered by you. So the university looks at the intention the student is coming from, which is
Right.
really, really good to have. Participate in college activities, definitely. If you can be an manager of a college event, or so basically you have to volunteer whatever you can, whenever you can. Add as many things as you can to your CV, and engage in social work, probably get some funding with an NGO, blood donation camps, assisting the old people, teaching slum area students. These things definitely show that you are an empathetic person. So the universities really like these things as well. For students who want to shift and do something, probably you can learn coding if you want, you can learn designing, learn a new language, you can get into blogging. You have to do something apart from your curriculum. Basically, these are few examples. And if you are interested in research work, probably you can get into a research assistantship under a professor and everything. The intention of these things mentioned over here is that please do not apply with just your degree. It's not going to get you somewhere. Please add whatever you can. You'll have 3 years to explore. So I'd say these are the major things. Wherein
Right.
GRE, I think Sinu would be the right person to guide more on that. So
But okay, I have one quick question for you, Shilpi. Like, one of the factors you talked about is like standardized GRE, like test GRE, which senior is obviously going to be addressed next about. But I understand that all universities or programs don't necessarily mandate GRE or like have a hardcore that you have to have a GRE for like a non-STEM program, right? But so why should students take it, or like, what's your input on that?
yeah, so very good question. I think most of the students will also have this. With COVID came the option to give and not give the GRE. But then over time, universities realize that if we do not have this examination, it is difficult for us to see it's basically an aptitude examination, which we probably take like JE and IIT mains here in India. So it is like that, but at a postgraduate level, the universities will not be able to see what is your level, even if you are a student with 90%. Now, US is a country, we have to understand, US is a country of rules. They want to see whether you can follow rules or not. But then they're not going to specify that to you. Else, if it's mandatory, you will definitely do it. So what the universities have started doing in their applications website, that they have started writing GRE, but in bracket they write optional. And then they say it's good if you have it, which means that if you don't have it, it's definitely not going to be a good thing in your application. It's definitely going to have some, if not negative, then I'd say no impact at all. But then if you have something else additional, which is your GRE examination, definitely it's going to add cherry on the cake, add more value to your application, and probably give you an edge, and your application would be a more competitive application. So I would always say that please go ahead with the GRE score. That sometimes also what happens is that probably you do not have a very high percentage. If you have a really good GRE, it can sometimes balance it out a little bit as well, and vice versa. So not going for it, I'd say, is not the solution.
Right.
I'd say try, do it. If you get a good score, very good, because at the end of the day, it can lead to a lot of things. Application is not the only thing. There would be a lot of things which your overall application can get affected because of one thing.
Right.
So my
So
recommendation is always that.
yes, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Right. So, having kind of like had that entire roundabout GRE, as you said, Shilpi, there's nobody better to talk about it than Sino himself.
Yeah.
Well, my question or the thing that immediately comes to my mind knowing GRE is that, or the question that comes to my mind is, would a non-STEM student have kind of like different strengths and weakness when it comes to preparing for GRE from that of a STEM student,
Yeah, I mean, have their own strengths and weaknesses, as you rightly mentioned. So usually students from the STEM background, generally we believe that, based on our experience, you can see that they find themselves in stronger in math. And there is a reason also for that, they also, keep in touch with the math during their UG courses as well. Okay. But when it comes to the non-STEM background, they don't do math in their UG mostly, in the most of the courses, I believe. And they are, out of touch actually from their schools maybe. And some of the reason maybe they don't like it at all. Especially I'm talking about a math actually. I believe that you do have the same opinion about it.
I would comply. I think I've told it multiple times earlier as well. And yeah, same. I'll probably be one of those people who are like very scared of math. And I would be like, okay, do I have an option of not taking the GRE because I'd be so scared of math?
Okay. Actually, there is nothing to scare on that, I believe, because maybe it is actually not a math test, I believe.
Okay. You mean to say that it's not technically math? Okay, that's interesting. And so when students have this kind of fear, okay, you told that students are generally kind of like scared of or coming with that fear. Probably people like me and Shilpi would be like, oh my god, do I have to do math? Would
Yeah.
this gap in that learning or this outlook that the students have make it very difficult for these non-STEM students?
Yeah, it's their own perspective, but based on my experience, I said, of course, it is not actually, it is not difficult to crack the GRE math. And also, I would like to correct a small piece in the question part also, Seema.
Right.
So
Shilpi,
actually,
if you could actually
Yeah,
probably
sure.
take the PPT off, then Sinu can actually share that.
Definitely.
yeah. So as I said, this is not actually it's a math. GRE not test the math actually, which is like wonder to you, but that's the truth. So they won't test math. Instead, they actually test you the reasoning skills, your reasoning skills with the basic math. Okay. So let's see what is tested on GRE. And I would like to share my screen. Just a minute.
Sure. I hope you're not going to make us do math.
Surely no. I hope you're all able to see my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. So if you see, let's see what is tested actually in GRE Math. So it's look like a math only, like say you can see algebra, arithmetic, geometry, and data analysis, right?
Right.
Yeah. But actually, believe me, it's only the 7th to 9th level of math. Okay. It's not like that advanced math, they won't do trigonometry, they won't do calculus. No advanced one actually, what they learn from their 7th, 8th, and 9th maximum. Okay.
Okay.
And the major portion is going to be taken up by data analysis and then arithmetic also. The students know these two concepts alone can get a good score, I would believe. 60% of the chapters, get covered in this area itself.
Okay.
Okay. And these are the percentage distribution in the quantitative reasoning. And what is tested in each? I'm just going to show you one by one. So I said that 7th to 9th math, I believe that you learned some of these things area.
100%. Yes. Yeah. I recognize integers there.
Great. Exactly.
10%.
So these are the topics tested under the arithmetic, properties of integers. Integers, they're going to know what is odd number, even number, prime number, composite numbers, these things. Okay. And similarly,
Correct.
exponents, roots, percent, we could use it in day-to-day life also, right?
Correct.
For example, if you want to pay some tax or some extra amount, I'm going to find a percentage of that, right? 18%
I would probably relate to shopping, but yes.
Yeah. So mostly it's a day-to-day life math only, the same way it's tested in GRE. And the ratio, rate, variations. These are the topics tested in arithmetic. And if I come to the algebra, most people care about it in algebra. Maybe these terms are used here as a technical terms, like algebraic expression, functions, equations, inequalities. So these are maybe technical, but you know how to do it, but you don't know the name, but that's fine. You don't need to know what is each and everything in detail, okay?
Right.
And when it comes to geometry, lines and angles, circle, triangle, quadrilateral, polygons, they need to know what is area, what is circumference. Our day-to-day life, we see the shapes actually. Okay, but know a bit about formulas of those things. It's enough for them, to crack this actually. Okay. And this is a major chunk, data analysis. I hope you know how to find the average, right?
Yeah, I think this looks so familiar.
Yeah,
All of these
exactly.
are very much familiar, yes.
Correct.
Correct. So these are the areas tested in GRE. Nothing apart from what you see on the screen now. Okay.
Right. So I was just thinking, you did talk about something about not really relying entirely on formula. So do we follow a very formulaic approach, or do students have to kind of like mug up a lot of formulae in order to actually ace the GRE quant? I'm going to correct myself.
Yeah, that's right. They don't need to, remember the formulas actually. The GRE itself is a logical reasoning test, and also the Princeton review techniques also perfectly work in the way they have to think it logical way, not to memorize the formulas and then apply it with the different numbers, not that way actually. Okay, I would just like to show some questions here. Let's do some math. I
knew you were going to do that. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see how we go to crack these GRE questions and how effectively they test the formula, whether they test the formula or the techniques. Okay. So this is a one specific question type actually, the quantity comparison. You can see a quantity A and quantity B on a screen. So quantity A is a xy, quantity B is minus 20. And there is one equation also in the top. This x plus y times xy minus 4 is equal to 0. Isn't it?
Right.
The question looks scary or something weird?
I mean, I'm just having like 1,000 expressions come to my mind, all that xy plus 2xy plus something, all of those things,
exactly.
which I know this is completely irrelevant in this case, so I'm not going to comment anymore.
Correct. Even as you said, the STEM students also, they know the math well. They try to multiply these two, as you said. They won't think it logically. They try to do the math on the problem. Okay. Okay, but actually my agenda is I want to compare the product of X and Y with a minus 20. That's what overall point is here, right?
Right.
Good. So for example, and one more thing, just notice it. Seema, what is 0 times of 5? I hope you can able to answer the question.
Oh, thank God. That's a simple question. 0.
Wonderful. So you can see here, the product of these two factors is 0, right?
Right.
So which means, can I say either this one should be 0 or this one should be 0?
Possible.
Good. If I want to make
Because
that y
yeah,
minus...
we would be multiplying it. Yes. Yes.
Good, good, good. Now I am not going to multiply. Yeah, correct. So if I want to get this 0, let's say y minus 5, I want to make y minus 5 0. So what is the value you're going to insert for y?
5.
Exactly. You said y value 5, right? If
I'm
I take
actually
y
feeling good
value...
about myself right now.
Yeah, you're good in math, actually. That's true. So if I put y value 5, I get this product as 0, correct now?
Right.
So it is independent about x value now, isn't it?
Correct.
Maybe you can also think that what going to be x value also to make that is also 0.
Minus 4.
Exactly. If I put minus 4, I'm going to make this equation 0 now, right?
Right.
Then what is x into y in this case if I take 5 and minus 4?
Minus 20.
Exactly. That's look like, quantity A exactly equals to quantity B, right?
Right.
You done it. Yeah, but the problem is not over. Hold on. The reason is it is actually not answer C. Most of the people also think that answer C. The reason is they thought that both has to be 0. But you correctly mentioned here, it is enough to one of the value becomes 0, right? You don't need to
Right.
keep both 0, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so this is one of the possibility only. And also I can say y value going to be 5, but at the same time, my x value can be anything. Let's say I put a 1. Still my equation satisfied, which is 0 only, right?
Correct.
Yeah, if I take this value, if you say x into y, now it is 5 x into y. It is not minus 20, isn't it? So I believe you understand that sometimes it look like equal, but sometimes they are not equal actually, right?
Right.
So in this case, you have to go with the choices. The relationship cannot be determined. And did you find any difficulties? Did I do any algebra here?
No, we've not touched upon equations yet.
Exactly. You don't have to, memorize a lot of formulas. And this is the techniques actually the students actually need to learn and also learn to do the questions in this way. Clear? Good. Let me take you one more problem. Maybe this time we go to touch arithmetic a bit. So take a look at the question number 2 here.
Right. And I think our students also need to start giving answers so that I'm not put in a spot.
Yeah, it's true. The students also can answer these questions actually.
Please make sure you're typing in your answers, and it would be a saving grace for me as well.
Okay, so in this case, I want to compare the two quantities again, but this time a sum of odd integers from 101 to 299, and another one sum of even integers from 102 to 298. So most of the students, if they know the formula, they memorize a lot of formula, they try to use the idea and put the formulas and try to get an answer. And let's say other kind of students, they don't know the formula, then simply they give up on this question and they move to the next one actually. Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah, but let's see what else we can do, even if I don't know the formula and I just want to apply my logical reasoning skills here. Okay. So did you see anything common in the question quantity A and B? The number range defined there?
Probably like 101 and 102, just one difference in.
Yeah, you're right. They actually picked from the same bracket if you see, right? 101 to 299.
Correct.
And the quantity B side, even within that actually, in a part of that number only, right?
Correct.
For example, if I list out all the numbers like 101, 102, 103 like this until 298 and 299, correct? No? So these are the number range they actually picked it, right? But on a quantity
it falls
A
in the
side,
same range.
Good. Yeah. And on a quantity A side, if you see only the odd numbers here, right? They want to find the sum of odd numbers. So which
Correct.
is, I'm going to take only 101, 103, 105, and keep going like this until 299, right? But on quantity B side, I have to take odd even numbers 102, 104, until 298, right? So actually, I want to sum of this all, and I want to sum of this all, and I want to compare it, okay? But I'm going to ask you a simple question now again. Just compare this 102 with your 103. So which one is greater?
103, obviously.
Obviously, right? So if I keep this list is keep going, let's say 104 and 105 is greater. And similarly, 298 and 299 is greater, isn't it? So without
Correct.
actually finding a sum, without this number 101 also, I can obviously say these values are more when compared to the sum of these lists, isn't it?
Correct.
And added average, added advantage, we have 101 also in this side. So that's going to make it as more actually, right? So can you tell me which quantity greater here?
Uh, quantity A.
Exactly. So because we already got it, the side is more actually when compared to the other one actually, right? So
That
quantity A
was
greater is
actually
the answer.
easy.
Yeah. So this is, they always put a number for some reason. They never use a random number for you to calculate some random things actually here. Okay.
Right.
Good.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to save a lot of time. At the same time, you're going to think the problem in a logical way too. Okay. Yeah. Let's look at the one last problem here. This time I just want to touch the geometry area. So this shape is called a parallelogram. Maybe some of us we're not aware of that. It's okay, fine, actually. The question asks you to find the area of a parallelogram with the compare the quantity with the 24 here. So, and mostly, again, the people got stuck here because they don't know what is a parallelogram is, or they don't know the formula of what is a parallelogram is all about.
Right.
Okay. But do you know about rectangle? I hope most of us familiar with this shape of rectangle.
Yes, for
Right?
sure.
And the area of this rectangle is actually L into W. Okay. I hope you aware of this one also, length into width, right? So by knowing this formula, that's going to help me actually to answer this problem as well. Look at this. This is a shape of parallelogram. If I cut this triangle and I'm going to paste this triangle, maybe add it to this one here like this. Don't you see now parallelogram become a rectangle?
Correct.
Exactly. So even if I don't know the formula for a parallelogram, if I know the rectangle, I can convert this shape into the rectangle. I'm going to use that formula here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this area of this shape now is, going to be length of this and this one actually. So this is going to be my length and this is going to be width. But if I see in this shape, actually, this is 4. This is also going to be 4. So it's going to 4 into some width actually. Okay. Okay, fine. Now it's given that this slanting length is 6, correct now?
Right.
Now tell me this about width, this perpendicular distance. Is that going to be more than 6 or less than 6? I just want you to guess.
More, less than 6. I mean,
Less than 6, obviously, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the ramp is not 6 means this is going to be definitely going to be less than 6, correct now? Then area of my parallelogram is going to be length into width, as I said, is going to be 4 times of, I don't know what value, but some value less than 6, isn't it? I just put a 6 with the indication of negative that says that it is a smaller than this. Okay.
correct.
Then the product is, can I say 24, less than 24 for sure?
Yes.
I don't know what is exactly, but less than 24 for sure, right?
Correct.
So comparing with 24 less than, obviously you can say quantity B greater, isn't it?
True.
Yeah. So this is how actually the GRE is tested, and not all the questions like this, but most of them can be answered logically like this way, Seema. I hope now you're not,
Okay,
afraid of math.
that was like super informative actually. In fact, I think I would probably change my mind with respect to how I look at math, and this definitely looks more doable than I would have ever thought, or I would have ever tried to answer as well. So very interesting. But I was just thinking, we're talking about techniques, right? And a lot of when you're talking about like certain concepts, I was just thinking, um, for an engineering student, they would still be so much in touch with math. And if I talk about a non-engineering student, or somebody you, let's say, who's going to do a GRE for business or management courses, they would be kind of like out of touch with the basics, or I probably kind of like need a refresher touching back on the concepts that are going to be actually covered in the questions. So do we do something to make sure of that?
Yeah, actually that's true. So we believe that the STEM students, as you said, they already touch in math and they're good at math sometimes. And but for the nonstem. As I said, they didn't touch the math for the long time, so they got to forget about some concepts, especially the basic about, what is even, what is integers, what is prime numbers, these things. Okay, so definitely they need some helps on those areas. Maybe I'll just explain it that with another example like this. Okay. For
Okay.
example, if you see the question, what is the sum of the smallest non-negative multiple of 5 and the smallest positive multiple of 6? This question looks like so simple, sum of some value, sum of, that's it, sum of two numbers, right? But still, if you're
Correct.
going to ask the questions to the students, they're mostly going to give out different answers, especially the wrong answers too. It is not like that they don't know, okay? It's actually like they missed a small piece of information here. Okay, say for example, do you know what is the difference between a non-negative and positive? What do you think? Would that
No,
seem
that
same?
just looks pretty much the same to me, actually.
Exactly. These kind of small things I need to know actually to answer my questions. Okay. So what does it mean by difference
Right.
between a non-negative and positive? So we won't teach this in a class. Instead, we want to give it as before get into the class, the students should know these things. Similarly, what is mean by multiple? What is mean by factor of the number? So
Correct.
these things, we're going to cover that in a foundation program actually. Okay, the students going to
Okay.
get learn about these all, what is mean by factors, multiples, negative, positive, even, odd. Whatever they need as a basics, they definitely get covered in a foundation course actually. Okay.
Right. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I believe that we have a very, unlike other people, we actually have a very structured, sessions that happen for students to actually even repeat it as how many times ever they want as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just, structured everything for all the kind of students. We would like to cover this with all set of students, and we're going to handhold our service, from the beginning and then during the course and also after the course as well.
Right. So I guess it about foundations, but how does the course, even I think I got you about strategies and the basics, but how do you ensure that over the course that we do, that the students overcome this mental block that you spoke about point? I mean, what else do we do to ensure that they do kind of rise above that? And as we know that you kind of like are an expert at making sure that the students get a perfect 170. So how do we really ensure that?
Yeah. So the foundation is just going to make them understand to avoid this kind of a silly mistakes. After that, definitely they need to learn a lot of techniques and strategies. And using that only, they will able to answer the questions in a well way and also in a time in a less time actually. Okay. And for this, we are just, during the course, we are providing these things. The students get to know about the different techniques and strategies. What I showed here is just a glimpse about it. The questions we discussed are three things, just a small part of the
Right.
techniques. But apart
I
from this,
mean,
they
so
need to
so
know.
besides the questions that you've shown me, I mean, obviously you've talked about like integers, if I'm not wrong, and I think algebra a bit. So obviously there are a couple of more topics, and do we have similar kind of techniques for different kind of questions and topics that go with it?
Yeah, that's true. As I showed the topic, I just covered only one question in each topic. And apart from this, we have a lot of other questions, other areas also need to be covered. And for that, we as the students, learn the techniques, the different techniques and test taking strategies. And also, of course, they definitely know about the concepts also. So it is not that, knowing the techniques alone. They need to understand the concepts. Okay. And we have our Princeton review techniques, which are 40 years, over the 40 years of experience of R&D team working. And this all the techniques are timely tested. When you apply the techniques clearly, you can able to crack the GRE within a time limit also. And also it fight against on the harder problems. If the question is really hard, the technique is going to definitely going to help you to make the question more quickly and get answers to quickly too.
Right. And I think what I've understood from what you've shown about the questions also, I mean, you've won me over, to be honest, but the fact that I could actually do that, or you could, drive me through to the result in such a quick, such a short time. It was so fast. I was like, tuck, 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 and we got the answer, which
Yeah.
was quite of like really surprising for me. Um, and you know that I'm a completely verbal kind of person, and then to be able to feel comfortable in doing that and knowing that was kind of like very interesting. So can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, Seema.
Sure.
Yeah, with you.
So you've given me a very clear picture about the point section, right? Talking about the verbal reasoning part, okay? Do these students, like when I say these, like the non-STEM students, typically find verbal easy?
I think there's a very big misunderstanding. I'll also just would want to give my feedback here that what students assume is that if they know English language, verbal is easy. Isn't that true, Sinu? Don't you come across that very commonly?
Yeah, that's actually not true. I believe because they think that they thought it is actually uh, if they know the verbal actually or English, they can easily doing good in a GRE verbal too. But I believe that's not true. The reason is this is also not an English test. Actually, it's a verbal reasoning.
Correct.
So they
So
have
I
to
just
do
wanted
some
to
reasoning
add
in
one
that.
bit, like when I actually started off with the verbal part as well, the very first time. So I've been through and through somebody who was so comfortable with English, and I thought, yeah, like when I'm going to give the test, I'm so amazing. Like there's nobody better. I'm a writer, so there's not going to be anybody better than me in English. I'm going to ace this, and I scored miserably in the verbal part. So I get where you both are coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Seema. So definitely, if you good at verbal, is actually English. That's actually going to help you for some extent. But if you want to push your score in a skyrocketing in another next level, so definitely you need to know that the strategies and some good vocabulary, especially tested word in GRE. So you need to know those things as well here. Okay. So I just want to show you some graphs here again for the verbal. Actually, here you can see. So these are the three different question types in a reasoning, verbal reasoning, and the majority of the chunk you can taken by the RC, reading comprehension. It's all about how good you are in reading and comprehending and skimming the paragraph and getting answer so quickly based on your verbal reasoning skills. Okay, and that is a 50%. And after that, you have a sentence equivalent, which is 20%, and also the text completion is there for 30%. So definitely to answer the text completion and sentence equivalence, your vocabulary should be, uh, it's a good. It's not only general vocabulary words and especially tested in GRE words.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see one example also with the verbal actually. I'd like
Sure.
to put on a question here now on the sentence equivalence. I hope you all able to see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So usually this is a type of questions in a sentence equivalence. You have a question with the following 6 choices, and you have to choose 2 of this in this. Okay. Always the 2 answers are correct. So you have to choose which 2. To answer this question, definitely I need to know vocab, and also I have to understand the question clearly and understand the sentence more clearly here too. So if you take a look at this question here, in private, the critic insisted that novel was seriously flawed, citing both its sophomoric premise and lack of structure. But when wrote a review that dashed the work. I hope you understand this sentence, and also maybe don't forget about these keywords actually. Definitely you
Right.
need to understand this. So when I say but, um, then I'm just going to complete right opposite to this what I said earlier, right? So can you
Correct.
come up with your own word here before you look into the choices?
Okay.
Is it a positive word or negative word? Or what's your own word for this? Yeah.
Probably praised it.
Okay, good. Exactly. You got to price it actually, right? Price it actually, right? Good. It is a very good positive word, I can say. So in my choices also, did you see any negative words? Can I do this? Surely is not answer based on your vocab skill.
Sorry.
Uh, Based on your vocabulary, can you do any elimination? These answers are surely not possible, you believe?
Praise. I mean, I think deprecate sounds like a negative word,
Exactly. Good.
and probably berate as well because yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
because
These are the negative words for sure, right? But I'm looking for a positive word here, which is a pricing uh the novel, right?
correct. I mean,
And
obviously not complicated as well. Does not sound like praise.
exactly, and this complicated is it's out of this. It's not a positive or negative, but in this case, it is out of our requirement. Good. So we just left with extol, celebrated, and assumed. So
Right. So
actually,
celebrated could definitely. I think assuage actually means something in terms of making something uh, that's bad a little better and not really praise. Like maybe
hmm,
I'm calming down a situation, a bad situation. So that does not look like praise to me either. It's not like, oh, wow, that's amazing. But okay, it's really bad. I'm going to make it better for you. So probably not my first choice either.
okay, good. But we know to choose between these three things actually. Maybe the two hard out to pick actually, but two should be synonyms almost, right?
Correct.
So if I see the synonyms, even if you think about it's not celebrated, but if you see the synonyms of the three words, mostly you have to go with this and this one.
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So this kind of strategies, even if you are not good at some words, you're out of six, you're not sure about one or two, that's going to help you to answer the questions at some extent, actually. Okay, but at the same time, definitely you need to know about vocabulary, but at the same time, this kind of strategy is going to help you to save your time and also approaching the questions in the right way. So that is very important, even if you are good in verbal in English, actually. Seema.
Right. So I think GRE definitely looks doable and probably, pretty easy for a non-STEM student from a math perspective as well as a verbal perspective to actually pick up. But it does bring up another question in terms of admissions, actually. I mean, everything looks perfect, courses. We've talked about all the things that they have to cover. But I'm sure that when we think of studying abroad, the first thing that, we think is money. And do non-STEM students also get scholarships, Shilpi?
Yes, Seema, to answer your question, scholarships from the universities, because scholarship is something which is given to the students on the basis of their merit and their overall profile. So this has nothing to do with them being a STEM student or so I'd say, and in fact, as I mentioned, that GRE contributes to a lot of things. If a student has a good GRE score, that can also be an added on benefit for the student to be considered for a scholarship, because if you have a good score, you will be one of the merit students in the university's list.
Right.
So I'd say yes, there is no discrimination for the students having a non-STEM or a STEM degree for that matter.
Right. And I mean, obviously, I think a big scare for students is also, okay, if I'm not STEM, can I really stay back and work? I think you did answer in part with respect to probably it's not necessary for them to work in USHF or, entire place, but will people still look at non-STEM students for career options or like for employing after they complete their education as well?
Yes, they do. So the stayback for a student who is coming from a non-STEM degree is 1 year, and a student who's going for a STEM degree is up to 3 years.
So they
So
do have 1 year.
yes, they do have, and there is one common factor for both of the students is, so basically it doesn't really matter if you have a 1 year of stayback or 3 years of stayback, because you need to have an employment within the first 90 days after you graduate. So even if you are a STEM student or a non-STEM student, the same rule applies to both of you.
Right. So we don't see people from like non-STEM background getting laid off either as of now. So that's a good news.
No,
Correct.
yeah, yes.
So that brings us to our end of the webinar. I think you guys have been really informative. A lot of perspective, I think, from you, Shilpi, with respect to, what are the options that the students can actually consider and what is the potential shift that we are looking at in the future based on all the things that is changing around us is something that the students have to go back and think about and also understand that they can actually keep their options open and consider studying abroad without being worried about the job aspects, because there's definitely job prospects coming in for international students also.
Yeah.
And Sinu, I think a big fear if the students, even if from non-STEM, I'm kind of like separating out math and physics students and everybody, other students also wishing to take GRE, maybe in even healthcare. I think definitely students who are coming from that background and everything generally don't do as much math. Uh, Definitely, you've shown that it's easier, and with the right kind of approach, you'd be able to deal with the questions in the right manner and get a good score. No wonder, a lot of students come to you as well or seek you out. So a big thanks to both of you and all these, candidate like participants who've joined us today. And hope we see you again for another event like this. If you want to actually, see more sessions like this, or if you want to kind of like interact one-on-one with our trainers and get a sense of the GRE or our expert admissions counselors and get more perspective about what would suit you the best on maniagroup.com website, there is a book a demo option where it's free of cost. You can actually book your free session and get a one-on-one understanding about what would fit you the best. So a big thank you to everybody here.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Seema.
you. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.